Invoked actually is back at it again. You gotta be kidding me. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more content. You know, I'm really surprised with how wild some of these regionals have actually been out here with some of these ideas that people are just trying to mash together and actually have work out. And to nobody's surprise, things have been going relatively interestingly out here. So your regional breakdown here, we have 2 Rescue Ace decks in the top cut. Wait a minute, Robbie, there's another Rescue Ace down there. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, so 2 of your more standard Rescue Ace decks revving it on up and doing their thing. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. We also had 1 Fire King variant sitting here at the dinner table as well. Okay, so your Year of the Fire looking pretty representative here, but the oddball out here had to be Pack playing the Rescue Ace Fire King deck. So yes, I was waiting for somebody to try out a hybrid-esque build where you try to bring these engines together and have them actually functionally work out. And this has been proven possible. I've seen a couple 60-card variants from some people that are very, very interesting and can actually work out. We also have 1 Labyrinth deck kind of stepping on up into the arena here and showcasing, hey, you know, pre-transaction rollback, we can still do things. We also had Manabe. Of course, that deck is literally the gas buster of the format. I'm not all that surprised to see that that deck is still functioning. And then we had 1 branded deck. Yes, the good antics of that deck still kind of continuing out here, doing their thing, which is really good. And then our random category winner of this whole regional was actually this Invoked deck. Between all of this craziness that was sitting out here, this build managed to climb to the apex and go, hey, you know, we can do something. So that's amazing to see. Now let's pass on over to these top deck lists. All right, so the first list here that catches our eye is actually the concoction that good old Pack came up with, where you're using the Fire Avatar Kirans as more of a little bit of a baseline here to kind of assist you with, you know, some interruptions, aka Ponix and friends. You're able to use Fire King Island, get free blow-ups, and kind of go down the safe route of things. On the flip side of that equation, besides, you know, using the fire stuff for defensive purposes, we're using the Rescue Ace cards to also get the full benefits of the full extension set package. Yes, this is where you roll the turbulence on out, you set, you know, everything that you need to here, and you put your opponent into a bad position, honestly. And I think this is the first time that I've actually seen some major consideration out here for some of the craziness that actually has been a list like this. I know a lot of people, I've mentioned the jokes about, you know, combining all of these different fire decks together and trying out these 60 card piles and seeing what you can actually come up with. And I think this is a good example of the beginning of these ideas, these things that you need to try out here and see what you can actually physically come up with. Also, we're side decking 1 copy of Kurikara. Yeah, we've seen, you know, your board breaker capabilities that you can do with this thing. And then, of course, the double SP Little Knight. Even in a deck like this, having the SP Little Knights, you're still forced to play 2 of these because you need to be able to answer those extremely troublesome cards that your opponent's going to be throwing at you. Honestly, outside of that, build feels really, really strong. And I want to see a lot of people build on this concept and challenge, you know, what more can we do with these? What can we extend into? Next up here is our Alistair the Invoker deck. Now, the first thing I want to say here is, holy crap, Alistair actually got a top in this meta. Like, especially with this card being limited, this is one of those cards that, you know, yeah, you can genuinely help out here. Also, good old Macabre being a very strong card. I think a lot of people genuinely lost to this deck on the premise of look at how much hand traps are in here. If you get stunned on a particular hand trap, this is going to help you out immensely. All right, you're going to be able to probably set up any sort of real physical interruption that you need, and then your job at that point is to control your opponent. As long as your opponent is not getting the chance to recover, or whatever you're doing is going to put your opponent into such a bad position. Also, Maximus right now is a pretty strong card. Like, genuinely, I think Maximus might be one of the reasons why this deck actually could do some of the little crazier things that you kind of were getting the chance to see here. Overall, I think this deck might be a little bit of a sleeper in the meta. It doesn't mean that you should run out and pick up everything for this deck, but I think things like Branded Regained are very strong right now, and they create, well, very unfun scenarios for your opponent trying to play around. Outside of that, I mean, you've got a lot of the standard side deck stuff down here. Pankratops I'm going to say Summon Limit at this point feels like a standard side deck card, because the whole purpose of this is to slow down your opponent. You know, you want your opponent not to be able to play the game, and, you know, by creating these fun scenarios, you gotta love side decking good cards down here just so they can not play the game. I do find this one droplet to be very weird. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I want to have the other version. But okay, moving on along here, we have Labyrinth. Now, this entire deck is probably going to change post-transaction rollback, rolling on into the TCG. We already have a very strong idea that that's going to happen. One of the first immediate things that draws my attention here is we're actually playing triple cross-out Designator in the main deck here. So I guarantee you that this is to ensure that you don't lose to this stupid good card. Ghost Bell's playtime in this format has dramatically risen. Like, it is kind of crazy to me how much actual meta Ghost Bell has defined with all of these side decks out here. Now, this regional, I think, is one of the few examples where we haven't seen Ghost Bell ramping up for everything. But Ghost Bell, you know, seeing all of the quarter century buyouts and everything, a lot of it has been because of this card's rise in today's meta. Of course, most of this feels fine. I see that we are playing the triple Fenrir in the main deck. Your side deck is holy moly hand trap central, man. Like, you are not losing to any of the real random meta good stuff that they're trying to throw you. And then, of course, I mean, your one-ofs of the different dimension ground, the one barrier, and the one eradicator. You have all of your bases taken care of very, very strongly with this deck. And that's how you can tell most of this stuff is designed very, very strongly to handle the meta. Next up here, we have Hello, nice 45 card version of Branded. I see that we are playing double Branded in High Spirits. I'm in High Spirits just actually seeing this deck do its thing. We do have the one triple Tactics thrust in the main deck. I feel like that's pretty normal at this point. This build did choose to actually bring in Super Polys in the main deck. We've seen a lot of builds kind of straying away from the Super Polys, which is fine. You can shove them in the side. But I think it's best that you do work with it. I also see that we are side decking the Branded Regained. So we're just not even worried about if we bring up the Lubellium. We're not even setting up anything except for Branded Lost. So this would be, okay, so post-side decking, you need to have another form of some sort of regeneration along the way so you can kind of do your thing. I suppose that this is fine. Hey, look, it's the card that we were just talking about a little bit ago in the Labyrinth deck. Ghost Bell getting some major hang time out here. I do see that we are playing only 2 copies of Pot of Prosperity in this build. That's kind of interesting to me. You know, you want to make sure that you can get some filtering options, get the deck actually started. Most of your extra deck options down here are a little bit all over the place. But I mean, that's just looking at this deck. It's standard. It's just, if you have to play the Pot of Prosperity, you better be hoping for some options, all right, just so you can get the game going, or it's going to be rough. And our last list we actually have for you here is the second place Rescue Ace deck. To be honest with you, most of this ratios are going to feel fine. Yes, we're playing 43. We're on triple talents in the main. You have, of course, the imperms, the ashes, the veilers, all the standard good stuff. Hey, look, it's Ghost Bell again, actually doing its job. We also see the power of DD Crow and, of course, Droll and Lockbird. And this entire side deck is just anti-meta fun. You're trying to make sure that you don't lose to the most random meta stuff out here. But this is going to be Rescue Ace in a nutshell for majority of this format. You know, the build's going to feel incredibly straightforward. You're not going to have a lot of crazy innovation lines, and that's fine. All right, you want things to be designed relatively easily for the meta. So that is our breakdown for this regional. What do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.